All right, Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Some of you ate so much you couldn't get the words out. We had a good meal first here. Hope everybody had a good meal wherever you were. If that was, or maybe this is your good meal that we're about to have now. Hope you left some room because we're going to have this nice Rosh Chodesh service. Okay, so for those of you that are online, and that this is maybe the first time you've done this with us, it's going to be primarily a screen-driven, slide-driven thing, and then wherever you are, you can participate at home with us as we read along on the slides. Now, some of them do say everyone or leader, etc. There's one section that I'll read myself. Otherwise, we can read all of the things together. This whole thing is only about, in itself, prior to my speaking, the service itself is only about 7 or 8 minutes. It's not very long. We need to understand that when it comes to the new moon, to Rosh Chodesh, we have very, very little in Scripture telling us what to do. We're told to celebrate it. That's it. When I say little, that's it. Okay? There's a celebrating or an acknowledging of the passing of time. So we have, the signs in the heavens as opposed to a app on your phone telling you what time it is and what day it is. They didn't have these things. And so as they're trying to keep track of where they were in the cycle of time, they would look at things like the cycle of the moon. And they would see that the moon had a cycle that would tell them what month they were in or what moon they were in as they were counting through, especially for the holy days, knowing that in the first moon, there's certain things that happen. In the seventh moon, there's certain things that happen. So you kind of know where you are in time, okay? And as we're headed towards Shavuot, we're recognizing that time is moving. Okay. How many of you have been paying attention enough to know what number month Sivan is? What number month is it? 3, thank you. Rabbi Tom knew. And I knew he would because when he was teaching the Gadol class, they needed to know what day it was, what month it was. In Hebrew, they needed to pay attention to these things. Okay? All right, so we're going to begin, and we're going to do the sounding of the trumpets. Now, bear in mind that I have to apologize. I did not bring my silver trumpet. We have moved so much of our stuff out of this building and then back and forth that it got left somewhere else. But bear in mind, so people will be like, oh, but you're not supposed to use a ram's horn. I'm not supposed to be doing this at all. Okay, I'm not a Levite. I'm not a Kohen. And we're supposed to have 2 of them. I mean, so just let's take a breath. But we will sound the shofar, okay, to start and announce the new moon. And I've got one of those with me always here, so we'll do that. And I will try to remember to bring the silver trumpet next time. But just so you know, because some of you online will be all like, well, the trumpet was supposed to be sounded by the Levites in the temple to announce these. We don't have those elements, so we're doing what we can, okay? And as we're transitioning things back to the building and getting our life situated back here again, I need to remember to leave it. I have 2 of them, so we'll have to train somebody to blow the second one. Or I'll just have to put them both up at the same time. You laugh, but I've been known to do that. Okay, so if you'll all rise, we'll sound the trumpet or the shofar, and we'll go ahead and start the service. Amen. Amen. I think half my lunch just came up. Okay. Either that or my lung. No, we're okay. All right. Psalm 51, verse 15. Yahweh sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. Also in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and in the beginning of your months. You shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Kedushat Levanah. O Yahweh, our Elohim and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor. A life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin. A life free from shame and reproach. A life of prosperity and honor. A life in which the love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us. A life in which our heartfelt desires are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. Okay, I'll read this part. The new moon of the month of Sivan is today. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Yisrael. May the set-apart one, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation, and let us say, Amen. Together, blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one, blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens. Yahweh is his name. Rejoice before his face. His name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. Amen. From Isaiah 66, verses 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen. Amen. All right, you may be seated. All right, so that was our brief service. I told you it was not going to be very long. But the marking of time is very important. And part of the marking of time is the extensive notes I wrote so I could tell you what I need to tell you today. I like this part a lot because I like to just come up and see whatever he wants me to say. As we mark time, we need to do a few different things in terms of our emotions and our thinking, etc. One of them, of course, is to see, okay, where we are in time. Another is to see how far individually maybe you've come along in time. You know, where have you progressed since last moon or last month and that kind of thing. Also, where are we in the timeline of things as far as what might be coming? This particular new moon also, I shouldn't say this particular one, all the new moons sit in the space of the holy day cycle in certain places. So this one is the one right before Shavuot. And so you might be asking yourself, well, what's the significance of that? Should I be thinking of it any differently? Just like the one that was before Passover, the one that's before trumpets, etc. And of course, trumpets is a new moon. But as you go to the one right before that and you're preparing for the things that are coming and what they signify, you know, what are they emblematic of? What are they trying to tell us about ourselves, the life we're living right now, and what's coming? You know, one of the things that I do, and maybe I'm different than a lot of the leaders out there, I don't know how many do it, maybe I'm not so different, but while on the one hand, I am absolutely anticipating the return of Messiah at some point, I don't look as maybe they do for the signs of his coming. I'm not saying I don't look, but I'm not looking for what they look for. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at the body. That's what I look at. I think he looks at that too. I think there's a reason why we have a verse that says things like, unless the master would tarry. Well, why would he tarry in his coming? Could it be because he's waiting on us to be ready? Whatever that looks like. Okay? I know we're not going to be perfect before he gets here. But I think he may be waiting for us to be emotionally and mentally strong enough to handle what's going to happen just prior to, during, and just after his return. I just want you to think about that. Now remember, this is all packaged with the understanding that whatever is required of you, whatever he's going to expect of you, you can absolutely handle, achieve, and do from where he's called you, from where you are right now. But are you making the efforts to train? Really, it's like a training. It's like, you train for an event, you train for a performance of some point. There's lots of things you can train for in your life. Are you training for this? Paul compares it often, the life as like an athletic event. Running the race to win the prize and that kind of thing. Are you training for this? The Israelites with Moses, they were headed towards an unknown. They were headed towards Sinai, and they really didn't understand what was going to happen there. I think we can agree. Of course, then you see those that were in Jerusalem on Pentecost, on Shavuot, in Acts chapter 2, they were anticipating one thing and got something they completely weren't expecting. But they did have a certain level of anticipation because they've been keeping and celebrating Shavuot for generations. And so we also have a certain amount of unknown that we're dealing with and a certain amount of known. Are you preparing for both of those, the unknown and the known? Because there's going to be continued revealing, that he's going to do in your life as you continue to journey and grow and go forward. But also, he's going to expect you to be doing certain things with what you already understand and what you know. So I think we need to take these moments, these new moon moments, to examine ourselves and ask the question, have I really embraced the verse in Revelation that says the bride has made herself ready? Now, I know we talk about that and you think about the idea of making yourself. I want you to focus on the word ready. Okay? Are you ready? Oh, I wish Messiah would come tomorrow. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for tribulation time? Are you ready? Are you ready for whatever it is that's coming? You have a certain sense of what that might look like. I've taught a little bit about it. Other teachers have taught a ton about it. So you may have some sense of, we do at least know that the times that are coming are going to be the worst times that have ever been. You are not going to get raptured out of that. By the way, I'm still a little challenged by some of the people posting on MTOI comments on pages where somehow they still think there's a rapture involved. Or they'll send me videos and emails about, just so it's clear to all of you out there, there is no rapture. End of story. Don't ask me to explain that now. You don't agree with me, that's fine, but please stop sending me videos from mainstream Christians trying to explain mid-trib, post-trib, this trib, that trib. I think you're all tribbing. Most of you got that, so I won't explain. Okay. All right? But you guys send me the videos. Well, this guy, I know, blah, 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 but he's right about most things, especially I'm not sure I agree with him on whether it's mid-trib or this trib. I said, I don't buy any of that. Okay? That is a human mix with Christian mix of not wanting to have to go through. So we're going to try to find some spin that justifies that we're not going to have to go through. Read Proverbs where it says that the evil are taken away and the good get to stay. You got it all upside down and backwards. Okay, of course, Tim LaHaye and the rest of those guys didn't get it. So let's just bear in mind that, are we becoming ready? Are we understanding that there's an individual and corporate growth that has to take place? You individually and us as a body. So I'm looking at both. You should be looking at both too. Look at us and yourself individually. Where are we in this growth pattern? Because you see, I don't think he's coming until whatever critical mass of amount of people he believes is necessary to do the next thing until that exists. And I don't know if that means exists over the history of time, so maybe he only needs a few thousand from every generation. Look, you got the 144,000. Maybe that's 12,000 each from so many generations, or so many jubilees, or so many numbers of generations. Who knows? Lots of people think they understand the whole 144,000 thing. But the point is, if you are going to be counted amongst those that are in that mix, so to speak, well, then you need to be making yourself ready. And be aware that that's also, from a corporate sense, the body has to be coming ready as a body. Now, only so much of that's going to be accomplished before Yeshua shows up and he brings us together. I get that. But what I don't know is how much he's expecting us to accomplish before he gets here. At the very minimum, we have to be prepared for it, ready to submit into it, ready to participate on the levels that we're supposed to participate in. Can we agree on that? At the very least. So as we go from a Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, from these new moons to new moons, that's where we should be looking. I know a lot of people start looking to the sky and they want to see signs, and they're looking to this and they're looking to that and they're expecting all these things to happen. You're looking in the wrong direction. Look in, not out. Because we've seen lots of signs come and go on the outside of our personal space. And nothing's happened, at least nothing that significant. Not that nothing's happened. Things happen all the time. Sometimes it's connected to something that happens in the signs in the heavens. Sometimes it's just randomly, coincidental that it's connected to something. It just happened to happen similarly timed to something else. I'm not discounting that there are things that Yah says that are in the heavens. But if that's the only place you're looking, you'll be missing the boat. You have to be focusing on looking at you and then looking at the body as a whole. Does the body as a whole look ready for him coming? We're still, a body that looks like it fell on a landmine and exploded. And it's not ready. And so when we look for timing, I think that, yes, the world is getting worse. There's things that are happening that have us all very concerned that there could be end times looking. I think every generation has plenty of things that are end times looking, and certainly every generation could have been the generation, and then why weren't they? Well, you could fill in whatever because you want. I think it's because the body didn't have the numbers he wanted, either at that time or cumulative over history. Because remember, when he shows up, you're going to have two things happen: a resurrection of those who died in covenant, and a changing of those alive in covenant. And that's going to be a number. I don't know what that number is. People will speculate 144,000. It may be a whole lot of different number. Who knows? He hasn't told us specifically. Or if he has, it's deeply buried and hinted at in ways that we're not sure. But that number, I think, is the reason he's not here yet. That number has not been hit. The number of people that he's willing to put on the incorruptible. The initial group, they call it the first fruits, those in the first resurrection. The first among many brethren, which is Yeshua, and then those in the first. He says, blessed are those in the first resurrection. Remember, you wouldn't call something first unless there was a second. So there's an extra blessing to be in the first. I think there's an extra blessing because it's the hardest group to be in. And so I hate to use this phrase because it's something that I used to joke with. My wife will tell you I joked with this because back in the day when there was, if you remember, there was a thing called Pal Talk. And on Pal Talk, I had a name that I used when I would go into different groups kind of anonymously. My name was Up to the Challenge. So my question to you is, are you up to the challenge? Because people would always say, I'm up to the challenge. I said, no, you're not. Actually, I'm up to the challenge. It's actually my name. But really, are you up to the challenge? He is looking for the whomsoever wills to be in that first resurrection. Okay, this is not an easy group to be in. This is not Christianity's, you were just called, and so everybody come and you're in. You're going to have to He talks about the idea of being worthy. You have to be worthy of that. There's a reason he's called you and not somebody else. Oh, but I'm nobody special. Well, that's part of why he called you. Because you are nobody special. At the same time, you're very special. But you don't have anything outwardly that people would say, well, I know why they picked her or they picked him, because clearly they're much more competent and much more this and much more that. He knows why he picked you. And you should know too. He picked you because you can do it. He picked you because he knows that if you could just find it in here, inside, you would do it. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. It's not going to mess up anything, but the one part of the conversation was, well, how do I do this or how do I do that? And the answer is not outside. The answer is here. It's going to take heart. You watch a team play, and they're clearly outmatched, but there's no quit in them. We say they've got a lot of heart. You watch a kid doing a bunch of things that they're struggling with, but there's no quit in them. You say, that kid's got heart. You know what's going to take to make it into the kingdom in that first resurrection? A lot of heart. So when you examine yourself, don't just figure out whether or not you ate pork this week and whether or not you attempted to work on Shabbat or whatever. Figure out the heart part, because if you get the heart part right, all the mechanics falls into place. There's a saying that's older than old, where there's a will, there's... Okay, so think about why that's true. Because if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out how to get it done. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. Of course, we have to overcome the human nature called lazy. Don't be offended. You may be the most diligent, hard worker at your job or other things, but there's an aspect of your life where you could still end up being lazy, where you're just not willing to put in the effort. So I'm not saying lazy is an all-encompassing, all-pervasive characteristic. But are you willing to put in the effort and have no quit in you? Because I watch people in the body quit on a regular basis. They quit on themselves, they quit on marriages, they quit on relationships, they quit on congregations, they quit. There's just a lot of quit. The body lacks heart. If your heart isn't working, you die. Same thing with an individual, same thing with the body. The body needs to have a very healthy, very strong heart. So what's needed in there? Courage. I almost feel like we're talking about like the lion in the Wizard of Oz. Maybe I need to get all of you a little pendant thing with a little metal on it so you have courage. Okay? Almost a combination with the Tin Man who needed a heart. But you need courage and a heart. But not a heart that just pumps blood, but a heart, like when we say that person's got heart, there's no quit in them. They're just going to go and not quit. If you're still having thoughts, I don't think I can make it. I don't know why he called me. That's where your battlefield is. I'm not picking on you for having those thoughts. Everybody has those thoughts. But what do you do in response to the thoughts? You got to have to win the fight. How do you win the fight? You remind yourself, but he called me. You have to get back to that place where you know that he is perfect, which means he doesn't make mistakes. He didn't pick you and then realize he made a mistake. Oh, but you don't know. You're right, I don't know, but he knows. I don't need to know. He already knows. Anything that you can but, he already knows. He knows what you did. He knows what was done to you. He knows everything. But are you going to work on your heart? That's the key. Because it's going to take heart and courage to make it. Because we have a teaching that deals with that called endure to the end, right? If you endure to the end, you do what? You receive the crown of life. Endure and receive the crown of life. How do you do that? It takes a lot of heart. Endurance takes a lot of heart. You know, I often tell the story how when I was in martial arts class, I don't know, I was in my 20s. A teacher asked us to stand in a certain position, and he wanted to see who would be the last man standing. Because he knew holding that position would eventually cause your body to burn, the muscles to burn, and you'll want to quit. And so I did something, you all need to do the same thing. I made a decision in my head that said, my body may quit and fall, but I won't quit. I'm not going to stop because of pain. I'm not going to. If I collapse, I collapse. I can't control that. But I'm not going to quit. In other words, I'm going to die trying, so to speak. Because I figured I could always pass out from pain or this or that. I wasn't going to quit. Now, why was that? Because part of it was just pride and ego of a 20-something-year-old. Part of it was wanting to impress my teacher, which was probably a much better motivation, a much stronger motivation. But I was given a task, a challenge. So you were given a challenge. You were born into life. Life's a challenge. And then you were shown a potential reward called forever and the kingdom and eternal life. And you were challenged to do the journey from here to there. And you accepted the challenge. You went in the water and made verbal commitments to accept that challenge. This is what makes the Creator very happy. He wants to see us receive His calling with enthusiasm. But see, you have to break free of the mind that Christianity gave you, the mind that the world gave you, that He'll do it for you. You don't have to do these things. Don't worry if you can't. He'll just fill in every gap and everything like that. He's only going to do the things you can't do. You need to have a heart-to-heart, honest conversation with yourself to understand the difference between, I talk about a wants, needs disconnect, you got a can't, won't disconnect. Let's work on the can't, won't disconnect. What you're calling a can't, is it really a won't? Well, I really don't want to do it. It's too hard. It's too much effort. I don't believe I can do it. So now it became a can't. If you're not sure which is which, get counsel. But be ready for the counseling person, if they're a good one, to help punch through to find out if it's a can't or a won't. And challenge you to really dig deep to see, really, is it really something you can't do? Or is it just something that it's just too intimidating and overwhelming, so you won't do it? So you don't think you can. You know, there's a saying, and it's a great saying. It says, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Great saying. I don't remember if it was either Ford or Edison or one of those guys, I think, that said it, but it's a great quote. Because it's true. If you don't think you can, you can't. You know, I'm not recommending you watch something, but if you were to go back and watch the early Mike Tyson fights, every one of those fights was won before the bell rang. They knew they couldn't beat him until he ran up against a guy named Buster Douglas who didn't have that problem. And he knocked Buster down too. Buster got up. But the thing is, he didn't think he couldn't win. He knew he could. You watch I'm talking about, go back and watch the facial expressions and body language before the fight started of every guy that he beat within the first few seconds of every fight. They were done before the start. So they were right. They couldn't win. So if you don't think you can, well, then you can't. Well, I don't know if I can get into the kingdom. Well, guess what? Then you can't. He knows you can, but if you don't know you can, you're not going to get there. Do you think he's going to have a bunch of doubting people in the kingdom? You have to find a place of trust, belief, emunah, faith, etc. And it's got to start with your belief that he called you because you can. I don't know how else to say it more strongly to encourage you. He called you because you can. He didn't call you because it would be easy for you. He called you because you can get there. That's the key. And so I just want to take that moment, this moment of the new moon, to really encourage you. He didn't promise you it wouldn't be challenging. He didn't promise you it wouldn't be hard. As a matter of fact, he tells you it will be. He says, Yeshua himself says, if you follow me, you're asking for a whole bunch of grief, but it's worth it. And then some of you whine and whine and whine like you didn't sign up for this because you still remember going to church where they told you, well, you come to Jesus and everything's going to be wonderful and roses and gold falling out of the air and diamonds out of your belly button. You should never have another problem ever. Nobody in Scriptures ever tells you that. That does happen in Revelation 21. But that's when all the other parts are finished. After you've had to do the other challenging parts. But look at the abundance of Scripture, like Paul telling you to run the race to win and not to let anybody steal your crown. And Yeshua saying, if you follow me, you're also going to have to bear your stake and deal with things. And people are, mother against daughter and sister against brother. And you're going to see these turmoils and this strife that's going to happen because of your choices, and you're going to have to endure through it. Thick-skinned, no quit. Okay? May have to put that on a shirt. I'm thick-skinned, and there's no quit. Okay? Because we are so thin-skinned and ready to quit. We are thin-skinned and just ready to quit. All anybody has to go, boo. And we just all, okay, I quit. That person hurt my feelings. I didn't like the way Rabbi looked at me or talked to me. I had a guy quit because I forgot to shake his hand one day after services on the Sabbath. Now, this is not a joke. That really happened. Found out, so why'd you stop coming? Well, you ignored me and you snubbed me and didn't shake my hand. So you kidding me? I had 80 people in the room, so I missed one. I mean, come on. That person's not ready for the kingdom. I'm not picking on him. I'm saying that mindset is not ready. You got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep going. Go, forward, forward, forward. Keep taking one more step. I'm going to get there or die trying. By the way, that attitude gets you in. That's Deuteronomy 8:2. You're showing the heart to keep his commands. I'm going to get there or die trying. Which, by the way, gets you there. Just like I said when I was doing that martial arts thing, I'm either going to pass out or I'm going to be the last one standing. Either way, I win. Because I have integrity to know I didn't quit. Didn't matter if I wasn't the last one. I could fall down and collapse. My leg could give out from under me, but I was not going to have any problem standing tall saying, I didn't quit. My body quit. Some of you, your body will quit before you get done doing what you're doing. That's okay. You keep doing it as hard as you can. It's okay if your body quits before you think you're done. Remember, it's not about getting to a certain level like a score on a test. It's showing the heart to try with all your effort. Because none of us knows if we have tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and how many of those you get. All right? All right. I mean, I keep going, but I think I've hit that point to death, okay? Sometimes you got to just say something over and over and over. And then I want you, if you struggle with this, go get this recording and keep playing it until you understand it and receive it. I am telling you, you know what? Yeshua said this all the time. Others have said it. He said, verily, verily, I tell you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. You can do this. I say that with 1,000,000% confidence. Now, I don't know whether or not you will. I just know you can. Whether you will is up to you. But you can. You wouldn't understand anything I teach if you couldn't. You wouldn't understand Scripture the way you do if you couldn't get there. That doesn't mean that the people that don't understand can't get there. It just means he hasn't chosen to give them that opportunity yet. We talk about that in the Millennium and Kingdom. But if you can, that means from the moment he opened your eyes, you could get there from that moment forward. He opened your eyes, not to tease you, not to torture you, not to frustrate you, not to shame you into just feeling even more like a loser than you felt before. He did it because you can. Stop owning that other stuff that the world has put into your head and your heart. Don't be who they think you are. Be who he thinks you are. Okay? Stop being who they think you are. Stop being who you think you are. Be who he thinks you are. He sees you in such a way, you need to see yourself the way he sees you. But I know you can't. I know it's hard right now. You cannot, well, you know what? Just trust it, and even though you can't see it. I can't see it. I understand that. But trust it anyway. Know that he sees it. But I can't see it. Well, because your vision is blurred by so much thick, muddy, dirty, gunky stuff that's all that life stuff that's been put in you, you can't see. You're going to need to spend a bunch of time wiping and cleaning and spraying more stuff on it and wiping and cleaning until you can finally see straight. Until then, just trust him. I can't see it, but he's always right, so it must be there. Okay? I can't see it, but he's always right, so it must be there. Amen? Amen. Okay. I don't know if I want to make any time for comments or questions out of there. I mean, I got the live stream going. How many people we got on there now? 60, okay. All right, well, we'll just leave it with that. I don't think we'll even take the comments. Just look, if you don't fully embrace what I'm talking about, just go back and listen to it again and again and again. We post it on, it'll be live posted as soon as we finish this. You need to hear this, but you don't need to hear it. You need to embrace it. You need to be in this. Every month, I'm going to keep hitting you with this every month because we have to get that right for him to come. He's waiting on the body to get its heart right. Okay? Amen? Amen. All right, so with that being said, how do you want, I'll come out here and you want to do the camera or? Yeah, we don't have that many people. If you guys want to just come on up here, we got a camera there. Come on up and wave goodbye to everybody. Wish everybody a Rosh Chodesh and we'll wave goodbye. Anybody wants to come up? I'm not afraid of germs. You can get close to me if you want. Hold on.
Was your note?
Just watch the speakers. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had like a lot.
My daughter just looked at my notepad to say, that was your notes? It's 2 sentences. One says, preparing for the unknown and the known and preparing heart and mind. That was my notes. She's like, that was your notes? Yep. Hey, birthday boy, it's okay. You were working today, so you're not dressed for this. That's okay. Come on up here.
Birthday boy.
That's Michael Diaz's birthday.
Happy birthday.
There we go. But they were doing some construction work this morning, so that's okay. It's not a holy day or anything. All right. So on 3, we're going to wish everybody a Rosh Chodesh Sameach, a Shavua Tov, which means have a good week. I'm going to tell them we love them, okay? Rosh Chodesh Sameach, Shavua Tov, and we'll tell them we love them. Here we go, on 3. 1,